What's going on, YouTube world? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks once again for tuning in. I'm Dusty, and I bet you guessed it, this is the Shred Academy.
Here we go, new sheriff in town, baby. Let's get it.
Stand up to the jump. What is it, your first time? I feel like you may be out of your right mind.
I haven't made a simple drop video in a while, and a couple weeks ago I dropped a video about step downs, and there was a comment that said just ride right off of it. And well, that prompted me to make this video. You cannot just ride off any drop. Now, I understand about physics that if you ride at one of these drops, or any drop, with enough speed, you're going to be able to fly off of it and your front wheel won't dive right away. But here's the reality. There is no trail in the world other than, your flow trails that are just going to give you miles of run-in for these drops. Once you take this skill to the trail, your speeds are going to vary, and your setup is not always going to be these perfect run-ins. So let's find a speed where we can just ride off, and then let's dip our speed down until we see our front tire diving and it gets unsafe. And then I'm going to show you the proper form for going off these style drops with no real distance to clear. And these are drops a little bigger than the ones you can just plop your front tire off of and then let your back tire follow it. But first, let's hit this drop with some speed in the snow. Yep.
All right, let's start it off with 20 miles an hour. Not bad. Let's check that out one more time. All right, so at 20 miles an hour, I mean, the front wheel kind of starts to dive before, but in all honesty, yeah, you're not going to have to worry about just blah and going over the bars. At 20 miles an hour, I would say you do have to worry about knowing how to land and absorb a landing like that. So upon impact, you're not getting all like squirrely and whatnot. But yes, at 20 miles an hour, you can ride right off. All right, we've seen 20 miles an hour. Now let's take a look at 15. Now in slow motion. Now, even at 15 miles an hour, that front wheel does kind of start to dive. So the more I watch myself do these, I'm realizing that I'm not just riding right off and staying centered. I guess it's my muscle memory that tells me, put your hips back here. So while this looks good and you're like, okay, even at 15, I can ride right off. I think if my weight stayed centered, over that bottom bracket, like you would if you were just riding right off, this front tire would have started to dive much sooner. But even still, I'll count this as sure, at 15 miles an hour with just a little bit of body motion, I guess you can just ride off. But am I suggesting it? No, because you still have to be able to land and have the right body positions and know how to, and you can see how harsh this was. Boof. We've had 20, we've had 15, now we've got 10. And that front wheel is diving right away. Let's break it down. So in approaching, right, I'm staying very centered on the bike here, did a good job. Front wheel's diving right at about halfway. Maybe not right away, but it dives hard. And the more it dives, the slower that rear wheel starts to go. You're not just consistently carrying that rear wheel speed. It's going to slow down as that front wheel dives. So I do put my butt back, right, to preserve life. But you can see here I get flung forward a little bit by that rebound. Now, if I wasn't ready for it, this part could be a lot worse. And you can see how somebody might just be easily thrown over their bars. So our ability to just ride right off of drops stops at about 15 miles an hour. This definitely would not be safe, how to take a drop. With no body input, you can see my body get flown forward right there. It's not like I purposely pulled my body forward. It's getting pulled forward because the front wheel is diving, my arms are extending, and once they reach their maximum extension, my chest gets pulled forward and my head goes over the bars. Boom. All right, just for poops and giggles. Yeah, let's just check that out one more time. I'll second that. We can see how hard my chest gets pulled down. Watch the front wheel. The bars almost get ripped out of my hand, right? And now look at my butt almost hitting my seat. This is where butt hits the seat, someone gets scared, stands up, and goes over the bars. Luckily, I don't do that. I keep my butt almost away from that rear wheel, but look how far my head is over the bars. Not gonna work. You know, you're gonna need some form of body-bike interaction. Now, so you can do this by, you know, bringing your body over, pushing down, but in all honesty, with something this tall, I wouldn't suggest that.
It's easy to see that at 10 miles an hour, my front wheel significantly dives before my rear wheel is even close to leaving. And I'm just keeping my body centered over the bike like I'm just trying to ride off. So if just riding off is only gonna work for things that are 10 miles an hour and above, and I don't want to get jerked forward, how am I supposed to approach that? The first way you're not supposed to approach this is with the two-wheeled lift. So let me show you that at 10 miles an hour, and depending on how I feel after that, maybe I'll do it slower, but I'm not trying to get hurt today.
And here we have the two-wheeled lift. Smack. Let's watch in slow-mo. Try to pick the whole bike up. Head slapper. Let's find out what happens here as we go through this two-wheeled lift. So as per usual, we approach in our relaxed attack position. We get a spot on our landing, and this is where we're going to forcefully engage our suspension straight down and then take our body weight straight up immediately after that. So down and up. Now at this point right here, I have unweighted the whole bike, and 3/4 of this bike have not left the drop yet. So I have to pray that gravity doesn't pull me back down before this rear wheel leaves. I've essentially made whatever gap is here that much bigger. If there was something I needed to clear, I've made it a full bike length bigger. Now, along with that, if you'll notice, as I explode up, notice a sudden halt in my upwards motion. And that's because of the weight of the bike stops me from going up. And it's going to be really hard for me to pick the bike up here. Now, if I had clips on, I might be able to suck my feet up, but that's really not doing anything extra. And as well, when your inertia gets stopped from going upward by the bike, that's what causes a dead sailor 9 times out of 10. It's this motion upward that suddenly stops and causes you to fall to one side or the other. As well, notice the lack of control or bike mobility I have in the air. I can't move the bike around to guide the front wheel down to land on that. I'm actually just free falling, and I'm going to land on my rear tire first and then get slapped on my front tire and then watch that head slap. Right. Boom. Imagine if this were a angled landing, okay? I'd have all this more distance to go for this head slapper to be that much worse. It's not like you're plopping off and you're actually creating some sort of arc, right? Or aiding that arc. You're literally going up and straight down. Up and straight down. Again, notice. Up, straight down. Definitely going to get you into trouble as you get into bigger gaps with steep landings that you're traveling faster at, or a smaller drop that you're trying to go into some chunk and there might be a root here and you actually want to go in with control, not this just blah and your head getting slapped forward. Now we're going to do it at 5 miles an hour, but there's no way I'm going to do it from this high and hurt myself. So we're going to do it from here, and we'll see what happens with the slow-mo. And again, just for poops and giggles, at 5 miles an hour. Now, you can tell I literally barely cleared this thing, okay? Unweighting, I do get the rear wheel off the ground, okay? So this time, look, we do get the rear wheel off the ground, so we really are adding to the distance. And this is what I mean. Can you imagine if I did this off the bigger drop and my rear tire caught this? Good Lord. Catastrophic consequences on anything bigger than this right here. So the two-wheeled lift, this should give you a good indication of why you shouldn't use that. And it just shouldn't be like, oh, you should use it when you're going faster. No. That's not the answer. So we can see the two-wheeled lift is not going to work unless you're going really fast. Sure, your flow trails, your practice areas, sure. But these are supposed to get you ready for what's going to happen out there. So let's see how we can stay in control with going 5 miles an hour off this bigger drop. And then I'll show you how we can apply that form to higher speeds. And there's push. All right, we got the push. It's super simple, okay? The push is designed to create momentum off of the drop so your front tire planes straight out so that your rear tire can fall properly and you're not going front tire heavy. Notice that my body doesn't get thrown forward and I land directly into that driver's seat again, right over the bottom bracket. And that's all because the elongated arms happen on purpose, right? It's not because the bike's falling away from me, it's because I'm pushing it off of the drop. And now having my body weight back here, it's off the front third of the bike, so it's not gonna dive because of my body weight. Now, as my rear wheel does come towards the edge and my front tire does start to dive, this is when I pull myself back into the driver's seat or the pilot's seat. And I can land with all my weight basically into that bottom bracket, use my legs as added shock absorbers, same thing with my elbows, so I don't get a big head slap like this. Right here. Notice that the bars get pulled away from me. I'm not pushing them away, and that's why you get this big head bob forward, right? And my body's actually being pulled down. I'm not pulling my body forward. The bike's pulling it. So I'm not controlling the bike here, but I am sure controlling the bike here. These are all purposeful movements. These movements are forced. The bike's forcing those movements. All right. Like I said, even slower. That's at about 3 miles an hour. Let's watch again. Okay. Because I'm going so much slower, notice that I bring a little more of my body forward to get more of a pushback. Okay. As well, these pushes, if I was pushing through something and this were like chunky, that push is gonna help that front wheel get through that chunk, okay? And then as I bring myself into the rear and I'm dropping my heels, that's gonna help push this rear tire through whatever lumpiness is on that drop. If for a rock, or maybe there's a root right at the end, I'd be able to push through instead of being completely unweighted, and this rear tire then catches that and flings me forward. I'm able to push this rear tire through all the way to the end and then bring myself back to center and land nice and square. Notice no head jerk. So we can see this push motion is much more useful than the two-wheeled lift at 5 miles an hour and lower.
15 miles.
Now we're gonna have the push at speed. Now I understand that this image is a little blurry. I did not realize I was unfocused, but we're gonna get the gist here. So coming in 15 miles an hour, because of the added speed, I don't need to get the extra momentum forward to get the extra momentum back. So you're gonna notice my upper body doesn't go nearly as forward. Now I still get the push forward, my arms extend so that the front tire can continue planing out without dropping. All my weight is over my rear wheel and over this rear axle here. Once my rear tire is about to leave, I'll pull myself forward on the bars, bringing myself back over, centered on the bike into the cockpit, and I'm gonna land with all my weight in that bottom bracket and use my arms and legs as added shock absorbers. Notice that there's no real head slap. My head stays focused down trail, and I'm ready for the next feature. It doesn't matter if you're going 5 miles an hour or 15 miles an hour. The push can be adjusted with your speed so that it's useful with all different scenarios.
So it doesn't matter, slow or fast. The push is gonna give you the control you need off of the drop, not the two-wheel lift and not relying on speed. But Dusty, what if there's a gap and I need to get from one side to the other? Don't I use the two-wheel lift then? No, because you're, again, creating extra distance of the gap, right? We want to utilize the J-hop. So let me show you that J-hop real quick. And if you want to use that, you can check out the video that I've already got posted.
Okay, so you need to create some form of arc to get to the landing, and maybe the landing is steep, so this up and down motion is definitely not going to work because you don't want that big head slap. And just riding off isn't really going to help you match the angle of the landing. So we're going to utilize the J-hop. Now, don't forget that this J-hop allows us to control how much pop we have. So I don't have to bring this tire up that high. I could maybe only bring it up this high, and that would create a smaller arc. But this time I say let's go big because maybe there's a nice steep landing over here. Watch as I'm able to nose that front tire down, right? And if this were a landing, I would be able to go front tire first and then rear tire, or land both tires at the same time and impact softly. Here, because I created a big arc, I do land a little heavier in that front seat, but you can see that my head doesn't jerk over the front of the bike. I'm able to keep my weight centered over the bottom bracket, use my legs and my elbows as added shock absorption. If you're interested in this method, check out the link in the description.
So that's it, guys. It's either the push or the J-hop, not speed and not the two-wheeled lift. Now, the push is useful at all speeds. You saw it. 3 miles an hour and up. Now, if you do need to create a little height or distance, you can use the J-hop. You don't want to be using the two-wheeled lift, creating more distance that you actually have to travel. It's pointless. And you don't want to be relying on speed. It's just not how things work. So if you do want to learn how to drop correctly, I've got a few drop videos right here. They're both in my description below. I will be making some new how to drop videos, but I wanted to show you guys it's not okay just to ride off drops because you're going to get hurt. And I care about you guys. Now, if you enjoyed the content, please make sure to leave a comment and always make sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you want to support the channel, please become a Patreon. Our goal is 150 paid Patreons. That will make my life so much easier and stress-free while creating this content that I hope you guys are enjoying, especially now that spring is on its way. As well, if you really enjoyed this or you'd like to buy me a gallon of gas, you can use my PayPal link in the description. I do have a few t-shirts left, just a few. Check the sizes. If your size is there, it's available. Now, if I don't see it till the next video, make sure to ride hard, ride safe, be kind to everybody, guys, on and off the trail. It makes a world of difference. If I do see you on the trail, make sure to come say hello. If I can grab a lap with you, I'd love to. Otherwise, I'd love to talk to you, find out why you love mountain biking just as much as me. But until then, guys, rubber side down. I'll catch you later.
Please, 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 please.